Everything was ready. A calm arm of a spiral galaxy, a patient star, a world covered in water, holding the 6 elements that dying stars had forged. And in the dark of that ocean, spiral ladders of genetic material, perfectly assembled. None of it was alive. Today we go inside the helix, to the moment that changed. Start with something almost nobody notices about that molecule. It is not solid. Running along the length of a double helix, there are narrow gaps, spaces between the strands, openings inside the structure itself. That is where this story happens. The creation of organic life is the crowning work of the spirit, and it happened because in those microscopic compounds, it finally found a space, a gap, where inner light could be lodged, not pored over, not attached, held inside. But holding it there is not simple, and the mechanics are very specific. To keep a portion of interior light suspended inside a molecule, without it collapsing to one side, without it pulling charges around and disturbing the chemistry, the amount has to be exact. Picture a magnet with an attracting pole on side A and an equally attracting pole on side B, and something suspended perfectly in the middle, held by both, touching neither. Too much, and the molecule is disturbed. Too little, and nothing is held. For each type of compound, an exact quantity. And there is a detail here that connects everything we have seen in this series. In my book, that interior light needs antimatter within reach in order to be recreated inside a material body. And there is no free antimatter in the universe. There was none available at all until the 2 planes connected. It was through the quasars, through the openings, cracks in the fabric of space, that it began to spread. Which means the black holes we followed 3 episodes ago were not only doors, they were the supply line. So the spirit built a system, subtle, patient, precise. A conscious field learning to mimic the shape of the quantum field. It took thousands of years to create that system and millions to perfect it. And it had been attempted before on other worlds, around 11 billion years ago in a galaxy nothing like ours, where molecules with a different chemistry did something remarkably similar to what our DNA does. Earth was not the first experiment. Earth was a refined one. And during that long work, something unexpected was discovered. These beings did not necessarily give back more energy than they received at the end of their cycles, but something else grew. Not the quantity of light, the quality of it. Generation after generation, those portions of consciousness became capable of perceiving more, learning more. Now, what actually changes when a molecule holds interior light? 3 things arrive together, and they are the properties of the other side. Conscious thought, the perception of its own vibrations, and, depending on the reach of that consciousness, the vibrations around it. And memory, that is not storage the way we understand it, but something stranger and more fundamental. Every thought remains inside the thing that generated it for at least a millionth of a second. To think is to leave a trace in yourself. And the very first thing each of these molecules does with that is notice its own body. Nothing dramatic, no reflection, no awareness of being aware. Just an automatic inherent knowledge. I am here. This is mine. Stay whole. Stop on that for a moment, because in the entire history of the universe up to that point, nothing had ever known anything. Stars burned without knowing they burned. Black holes turned without knowing they turned. The oceans of this planet formed, and no one was there for it. 13 billion years of the most extraordinary events imaginable happening to no one. And then, in warm water, inside a molecule too small to see, something knew it existed. The mathematician John von Neumann defined organization in 3 words: order with purpose. Everything we have followed in this series until now was order. That moment is when purpose entered the world. And notice what it created. Until then, every structure that existed was part of the material world. Now, for the first time, something was part of the world and apart from it. Which is exactly where the trouble begins. Because a naked genome in an open ocean is at the mercy of everything. Currents pull it, chemistry breaks it. Anything that drifts by can take it apart. It knows it exists. It knows it must stay whole. And it has nothing to protect itself with. Everything here comes from my books, a work about the force of consciousness and connection, the reality behind all realities. Links in bio. Next episode, the first wall in the history of life, assembled out of the pieces of its own body. The first dilemma any living thing ever faced. And the reason all of this was set in motion. Until then, fly rooted.